if you see the form, we have a user type drop down. Let's say if I select admin, then only I need to show this admin code. Okay. First scenario is like if I select the admin, then only I need the admin code. Okay. And if the user is there, we will hide it. Okay. And again, if the user type is admin, then we need to make this admin control mandatory. By default, it will be voice is not coming. Can anyone check it? Voice coming.
Coming. Coming, sir. Proper coming.
Okay. Fine. Thank you. So first scenario is like if the user type is admin, we have to make this field. We have to show this field also. And if it is user, we have to hide it. And if admin is there, we have to make this as a required mandatory. By default, this won't be a mandatory, but if we choose admin, then only this will be mandatory. Okay. We have a checkbox over here. If the checkbox is checked, then only this password will be mandatory, and same confirm password also mandatory. Okay. So how do we do these things in reactive form again, like set value, patch value, enable, disable? How do we add dynamic validation? It's a very small form, but so many scenarios we can cover. Okay. So let's quickly create a reactive form. Let's say user form. It's a standalone, so we have to import reactive form module, colon, form group is equal to new form group. Now a key question, do we initialize the form over here only, or we should create a separate function to initialize the form? Do we create
Separate function.
right? Separate function we should create to initialize the form. Here we should only declare, and we should have a one more function. Let's say initialize form, and here we should initialize our form. Why? Because in case of edit, you have to again initialize your form with the value. So again, like it will be 2 times you will have the form. If you initialize over here, and again, in case of edit also, you will initialize. So instead of have that code move to a different function. Okay. Now this dot user form is equal to new form group, round bracket, curly bracket, enter. Now we have to provide the control. So user type colon new form control. By default, I'm making it initialize at empty. Then what do we have? Username. Again, same new form control.
It's a good practice. You are create the instance of that form group line. Then again you are again instantiated the form group.
No, see, here we have just initialized our form. If you don't initialize this now, it will throw you error like this property has not been initialized, right?
Time you need to give.
But by default, it will be undefined now again. So good approach is, it doesn't matter if you are providing a value or not, you should initialize your variable properly. Either it is a form group, your normal variable or anything. You should initialize it properly. Okay. So you are initializing your form with empty, means you are initializing your form group with your empty form. You don't have any control, but that again you are overriding in your form. Understood? Someone will say you can add a not symbol and move ahead. That is also fine. But again, like you should have a habit to initialize everything. Okay. Let me just copy paste now. Email. What do we have? Password. Before that is required was there, no? Email is password required. This is going to store Boolean value. So instead of empty, I will assign it with false value. Then password. Then this will be confirm password. And what's the last one? Admin code. We don't have any scenario for the city, but let it be. Let's remove it. Okay. So see, what according to our form, I have created the reactive form. Now these are nothing but your control. Correct? Means what when we actually start working on the any API integration, whatever the object you have got from your API documentation Swagger or whatever the object you have got from your API team, so that nothing but you will provide it over here. Okay. Now, so let's say user type is mandatory. So what I will do here, I will add the validation array validators dot required. Fine. Then username is also mandatory. So let's add it over here also. Email, let's keep it optional. Okay. Then is password also it's a boolean value, so we don't have to provide the false, and the by default only two values there. We are assigning false, so we don't have to provide the required. Okay. Password is not mandatory, because if the user when he is filling the form, if user check this checkbox, then only we have to make this and this mandatory. Okay. Same like that admin code also. Admin code will be mandatory if we assign this value. Okay. Now next thing, on the form group, we need to bind form group. Then our form name, that is user form, will go over here. Then here form controller name is equal to, here it will go user type, the control name. Let's copy paste quickly. Or what I will do, I will copy this and I will replace that with this. Okay. Now username will go over here. Understand the shortcut also, because whenever you are appearing for the machine test now, whatever, at least for this, you should not waste time, right? So that you can focus on the functionality. Sunny, don't use anything. The email is there. Here form controller name. Can you remove this tick sign? Password. Confirm password and the admin key. Okay. Let me stop and share it again. Don't use anything, guys. Again, I have to stop and share. Now, so we have created our reactive form. That form I have binded to my HTML also. On the form tag, I have binded my form name, and the respective element I have assigned them with the specific control name. Okay. Now, let's disable this button if the form is invalid. So disabled my form dot invalid. Okay. Now, let's see if we have any error or something. We have error. Why it is saying user type not found? We binded our user form over here, but is not able to find username. Can anyone tell me why we are getting this error? User type control is over here, but since still we are getting the error. Why? See the both line, this file and this file. Why we are getting the error? Like it is not able to find the user type. User type is there, right? But why we are not able? Why it is not able to find the control?
Not there.
We have
Sorry?
not called the method initial.
Right. So this we didn't call. So by default form is empty, right? So in constructor we should call it. Okay. This dot initialize form. Now your form will have those control created. Then in the HTML you will get it. Reload. Fine. So now we don't have error because our form got successfully initialized. Now, once we change the drop down of user type, we need to make this password, admin code required. Means on the change of this drop down, we need to add a dynamic validation to this admin control. By default, admin control doesn't have any validation. Okay. But once we change the user type, then we need to add the validation. Now, how do we write the code for this? Is a drop down, right? So what event we have to use?
Download event, sir.
Change.
Download event.
Change event we have to use. Okay. On change user type. Okay. Now, this is one way to do it. Either you will call a normal event. Is there any another way instead of calling the event?
We can subscribe to the changes of the form group.
Right. See, we are working with the reactive form. Reactive form is so rich with your functionalities now that That's why, like in every enterprise application, they will only prefer the reactive form because so many things are there. If you talk about dynamic validation, dynamic form control, writing the code on some control change, everything is reactive over here. Okay. So one way will be you will write normal function like this, and then inside this function, you will add the dynamic validation. Apart from that, one more thing you can do. Instead of writing the event, in the constructor, what you can do, this dot your user form dot controls, and from that control, which control you want to watch out? User type. So here we are getting it. Sorry, your bracket. So here what you will get? You will get the particular control. If the particular control value got changed, you need to write a code. So you have dot value changes. What data it is returning? Value changes. What's the return type of value changes? Observable, right? So if it
Observable.
is something observable, we can subscribe to it, right? Means if the drop-down value change, you can write a code on that by subscribing that change event. Okay. So dot subscribe round bracket result string type of data we will get over here. Okay. Let's quickly add a debugger and let's see. Okay. If I change to user, see, you got the user, means once you change the drop down, your subscribe is getting executed. Understood? So this is the first thing. This is very famous interview question, like how do you write a code if the control value gets changed? So we can subscribe to the value change. Clear? Okay. Now,
Instead of
yeah.
instead of calling the change
Event
generator
and
here, we
writing
can
that code over here, you can directly do this. Okay. And this is the right way in case of reactive form. If it's a template form, we are using ng model, then you can write your normal change event. Okay. Clear?
Yes.
Now, so here, what do we need to write it over here? If the value is admin, if the whatever the user type user has selected, if the selected value is admin, then we need to add a validation. So if here, let's say type, I don't know, like in what language I have to explain. Guys, don't use anything, na? You're disturbing me also and other also. I also don't know how do I disable that. Please don't use it. Okay. So if type equal to admin, this is the if condition we need to write. Then we need to add a dynamic validation to this admin control. So first we need to select that control. So this dot user form dot controls square bracket single quote our control name, that is admin code, dot add validators. This is a function which will help you to add a validation to any control. Okay. Now what kind of validation you need? This will be required. So validators dot required. Okay. We need to show the error also, right? Let's see. After this text box, text hyphen danger, if condition at the rate if. So user form controls square bracket single quote my control name, that is admin code, square bracket dot errors required validation only we are adding. So that check I'm adding. What is required? Okay. If it is there, we will show the span. This is required. Okay. We have added the means once user change, we are going to add the validation. So just to check that we are adding this block. Okay. Now let's check it now. So by default, you can see we don't have any validation coming over here because on the form load, we haven't added the validation. Now, if I change to admin, it will go inside the if block and it is going to add the validation. Okay. Wait, why it is not showing?
So the form control name is incorrect. That
Where?
title case should be. All the form control name, the attribute
Mhm.
C should be capital
Yeah.
and
So
M.
maybe we have to do a test one.
No. Form controller name spelling mistake was there.
So C would be correct.
That's not clear. Okay. Let's reload one more time. By default, it is not showing. Once we change to admin, and once this line execute, still it is not coming. Why? Just now it came, no? Admin code, form controller name. Correct only, no? Something is wrong.
So we are not using a test over here on the top.
What test?
Touch.
Touch.
Touch is optional, no? So now it is coming. Let's reload one more time. Admin, continue. Why it's not coming? Something is wrong. User form dot control. Let's try to print this. Dot errors. JSON.
For user spelling.
No, I'm adding JSON type over here.
User forms.
Yeah.
U is missing.
Let's see. Okay, by default it is null. Once I select, okay, so sorry, yeah. Why it is not working? So what we did, we added the validation. Okay. If I show you in the form, you will get to see that also. Okay. Let's reload. If I change, currently, if you see user form dot control, let me show you this also. User form control admin code. If I expand that, where is the validation? Validator null. Okay. Now, if I run this line, validation got added, but we
Yes.
have to update the form also. Getting it? We have to update the form. Means because reactive form is what do we say? It doesn't support what is that? Two-way data binding, right? So whenever you add a dynamic validation, you have to run one more line. That is this dot user form dot update value and validity. Okay, let's save. Once I select continue, still how come update value and validity we have written or specific control we need to do. Let's try specific control dot add update value and validity, or wait, validation. Only one thing is there, update value and validity. This should work actually. Control. Here it is showing, see, Error required true. Okay, now it is coming. Let's try one more time. So by default, it is null. If I change, it is shown. Okay, I don't know, like some save issue might be there. Okay, so whenever you add a dynamic validation, this line you need to run it again. Update value and validate. So this will actually update your form. It will again update that object inside the form. Okay, so and in else also, what do we need to do? We need to remove the validation also, right? So this dot user form dot remove validators. And which validation? Because a control can have multiple validation, email validation, pattern. So which we want to remove? So that specific you need to specify. The required one I need to remove. Again, you need to run this line. So instead of doing it over here, let's move it outside. Let's save and check now. So by default, it is null. Once I change it, we are able to see the validation. Again, if I change it back to user, see. Understood? So this is how you add a dynamic validation. You select you get the control by using add validator, whatever the validation rule you want to add, that you add it over here. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can we use JWT on this?
Can we use?
JWT, JSON Web Token.
What you are going
Authentic.
to do? No,
This is
you're wrong.
different.
JWT is a separate thing now. We
For the
are
authentication.
discussing. Yeah, but that's a separate thing now. We are checking just the reactive form. It doesn't have to do anything with JWT. Okay. Fine. So this is how you add the dynamic validation in reactive form. Now, if the admin code is
Hello.
wait, yeah.
24 line, you are like you keep this line from like if conditions like whenever you add the validators, that time you need to update the validity, I think.
But this instead of putting this on the two line, na, in if condition also it will be there. In else condition, instead of that, put it over here.
So it
In
will
both
apply
the-
for both. It will
No, see,
like whenever which
either
condition is matching, then it will.
this line you need to run it once only, na. Either it will go to the if or this. Either it will add or remove. Then you just need to execute this line only once. Okay. What's the confusion over here? It's basic only.
No,
Okay.
no. My confusion is that. Okay.
Instead of putting this over here and over here, we can put it over here only once, na.
Okay.
Okay. Now, so if it is an admin, we want to disable this also. Sorry, if it is user, we want to disable this text box also. Currently, it is available, right? I'm able to type. I want to disable this also. Okay. So in reactive form, we can disable it from here also. Okay. So in else block, this dot, again, we need to call it the same thing. Dot, this will be else, right? So disable. Okay. And over here, if it is admin, we need to enable it. Let's see.
So sorry, sir, I missed it. What's the purpose of this line?
Wait. Okay. Currently it is enabled. If I select, see, it got disabled. Just a minute, I'm getting one call.
Sir, can we disable this admin code text field also? So it is possible or not?
Hello.
Sorry. Okay. See, now what we did is like on the change of drop down, we have to enable and disable this also. If the user has selected admin, then only this text box should be enabled, because that's only when that particular control is going to be needed. If the user type is user, we don't want this, we don't want user to fill this text box also. So we have to disable it. So in reactive form, we can disable and enable particular control from your .ts also by using this method, enable and disable.
Either through the HTML, we can use the disabled property.
Instead
right?
of doing it over
Okay.
here, you have the whole code over here, na? Right? See, whenever you are working on a big form, let's say currently we just have one on change of field, you are just disabling one field. But there are scenarios, let's say if you have 50 to 70 field in your form, and if you change this particular field, you have to disable 5 to 6 field. Okay. So many rules are there when you actually work on a big form. So what do we do? On change of this, we create an array of control. We create on change of this, what are the controls we need to disable? We create an array of it and we iterate on that and disable it from the .ts. Getting it?
Yeah.
If you are able to imagine that, then you will understand that.
Yeah, I
If
got
it's
it.
a one thing, it's okay. Yeah, in HTML also you can use that. But consider like so many fields you want to disable. Okay. So if you can maintain an array, like what control you can disable, that's a good thing, no? So that's why reactive form is so rich. So many scenarios are there which you can easily manage. Okay. Understood? How do you enable and
Can we
disable?
hide?
No, hide. How can you hide? This is a physical element, na? Hide is like, can you hide this with reactive form?
Yeah, only through the ngIf
Right? You cannot
directive
do it with reactive form
with the
because this
yeah
was a
with
form. This text box was connected with this control, so we can enable and disable. Okay, but hiding is something else, right? So that we cannot do.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now, so another thing what we discussed for radio for this checkbox. This is also again same thing required and this. What we can do.
In left side, can you take a star in
Where
mandatory star email right side?
means that
Yeah, a
asterisk
star symbol.
asterisk, no? That also we can do same means here you will check the validation means whenever you have to show that asterisk sign or not that you are saying, right? Instead of means dynamic validation, if we make this field mandatory, we have to show the validation asterisk sign, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's try that.
Sir, I have
So
a small question.
yeah.
So you disabled that property, but doesn't mean sense that we are sending any value while we, if you see in that UI, we are having some value, right?
I didn't
But
empty
it
that,
should
no?
not be there.
Yeah. Okay. Let me show you that also. Okay. So see, if it is user, currently what is happening? Let's see again. Good point. Okay. So if if the admin type is, user type is admin, user has typed something. Okay. Now if he change it to user again, now we disabled it, but the value is still there. We have to remove that value also, no? Correct? If the user type is user, this value should not be there. This is needed only in case of admin. So
We need
we
to reset
can
it.
remove that also. So for
Reset.
removing, we have to update the value of that particular control. Okay. So this dot, again, same thing, we need to write it again. Dot set value method is there. So set value method is used to update the particular control value. So empty. Okay. See now. Let's say I selected admin, I provided some value, again I changed to user. See, now the control is empty. Got it? So set value we use to update any control value. Okay. Now, what was that again? I wanted to explain something. Huh. Now, if you see this line got, we have written this line at around 6 times, correct? Can we refactor
Yes.
this code?
It is
Yes.
getter.
Right? So see,
Yeah,
what we can do, we can create, getter is also there. But let's say outside this function, outside this subscribe, you are not going to need that function. So again, that getter function will be in a global memory, you will have it. Those who said getter function, if we create a getter function for this admin code outside, and this getter function we are going to use over here only. So again, that you have created one global variable.
Yeah.
So instead of creating getters, can we create that same thing inside of subscribe? That will be a good option.
Yes, sir.
Right? So constant, what do we say? Admin code control is equal to this thing. We will assign it over here. But now we have to provide a data type to this also. How do we provide a data type to this?
As.
By providing as. What will be the data type? What data type we need to provide?
Form control.
Form control, na?
Form control.
This is nothing but form control we are extracting. So form control. Okay. So now, instead of reading it a multiple time, you have done it in a single place.
ये भी इसका getter ही ऐसा है ना, getter function ही है.
Just like a getter function only. Okay. Understood?
So in one of my previous companies, they were asking about data binding. And I explained them the 4 types of data binding. Then they asked about reactive binding. So is it like a different data binding
Reactive
concept?
binding.
Yeah.
Reactive binding means?
I think they were referring to the form, like reactive forms only.
No, but in case if they are referring to data binding, they should not mix it with the form, na? Right?
Okay, yeah, even I was confused.
Reactive data, I don't know. I also didn't heard it. This question is there, na? You should ask upfrontly, are you talking related with the reactive form or what? Because we also need to gather the question, right?
I think he was mentioning about the form control name. I think this is also data binding, right?
Here we are not binding the data. Data binding, what is whatever you have it over here, how you bind it over here. Correct. Here we are just updating something value. So this, you can say it is a data binding, but actually, I don't know. We can say it also.
Sir, what I think of, in the input, we have that form control name attribute, right? If we don't use that one, we cannot bind the value.
Right. So might be data binding.
Because in template, we use ng model, and in reactive form, we use form control name.
Correct. So that might be his context. Okay. Now, before some day I was working on a fix where, as I said, in my project, we have around 120 or something controller. We just have a big form. Okay. Now inside that, we had a radio button, and that radio button value was getting changed from multiple times. Somewhere it is getting disabled, somewhere getting enabled. There are so many scenarios that radio button will get disabled. And I got a defect like for a particular drop down change, I need to enable that radio button. But I was not able to debug like from how many places we are actually disabling that radio button. Because as I said, there were so many places from where you were disabling that thing. Okay. I checked the code like particular control and if someone has done the disable and enable, but no code was there. Okay. If you want to check like if that particular control is getting enabled or disabled from somewhere, so what you will do, you will search for this if enable and disable is there or not. correct? Or because in the reactive form, mostly we do enable and disable in from your .ts only. Okay, we don't use HTML that much. What was happened, like they had created a, when I joined the project, earlier team might have created, they have created a custom directive. Okay, and our form was dynamic, means it was coming from our JSON. This is not the form was coming from a JSON. Okay, you don't like, yes, before some days we created the dynamic form like that. We had a scenario. So there was no way like I was able to debug like from where that form was getting disabled. So just like value changes, what does value changes will get you? Whenever particular particular control value get changed, this will trigger. Okay, this is very helpful, because consider like you have 120 field and you need to check like from where, because this control value can be checked from over here if the user change it. But let's say from another some control value change also you are changing it, and you need to debug like from where actually this value got changed. So this subscribe thing will be helpful to you. Okay, let me show you one more scenario for it. I'm not able like you, everyone will be able to understand this, or just like radio button, where was that? One checkbox again I'm creating. Okay, and here I'm saying is user type required. Okay, let's create one more control. By default I'm making it false. Okay, this control I will bind it to the new checkbox which I have created over here. Okay, now what I will do on this user type checkbox, I will, or let's say instead of this, now we just need to change the value of it. Instead of this now user type, we will say user type. I just need to change the first user type value because of some another control value. Let's consider val now, and over here, or let's go with checkbox also. Same thing we will do. Okay, so now see, we have a new control that is user type required, and we have binded that with this checkbox. Now what I will do inside this, initialize this dot user form dot controls, square bracket single quote, if this value got value changes dot subscribe. Let me close HTML for now. If result is true, what I will do, I will change the user type control to admin. Set value. What's the value we have? Small admin. Okay. Now see what I'm doing. Once the user type checkbox is checked, if it is true, I'm setting the user type to admin. Okay. And if user type control value get changed, again, this is also calling. Okay. So see now what happens. First, if I change it manually, my user, this value changes got triggered. Okay. Again, if I change this, again, my value control got changed. Getting it? Means the value changes of this is dependent on this also. See, because I have written a value change over here also. It is false. So now it won't go inside. Okay. But if I check it to true, it will go inside, and I'm setting the value of this control from over here. And once the value of this control got changed, again my value changes will trigger. Understood? So user can change the user type from over here. And if this checkbox is checked there, after that also, we are doing the same thing. But this is happening internally. Understood? So like this, there are so many scenarios where enable, disable, adding dynamic validation, so many things are there. So I wanted to debug, like, how do you check like this particular value got enabled, by which event it got enabled. So just like value changes, we have one more thing, that is status change. Okay. Now over here, now instead of writing this code over here, now I will move it to a different function. Okay. What it will be? On type change. And this function I will call it over here. Okay. Now this dot, I wanted to check like if in like either it enable, disable got something, or validation change, something change in my control. I want to debug that. Okay. This is for our purpose only. Whenever you join any company, not required that they will provide you proper KT. Sometimes you have to debug and you have to understand. So this thing, what I'm explaining, it will be very helpful to you. Okay. So status changes dot subscribe. Okay. See now how many times it will execute. Debugger. Let me remove the debugger from over here. Okay. Now what I'm doing, I'm listening to the form value changes. Value change, enable, disabled, everything happening in the change. Whenever the form status got changed, I will add a debugger over here. So I can listen to it. Okay. See now. Now if I change this, see, invalid, I got it. Okay. Then we should get enable and disable, but we are not getting it. Why? Okay, so we have written on the user form. So it is giving us the form value, it is invalid or not. Okay. Now let's try to write on the specific control. Okay. Just like this. I want to write on admin code. User form dot controls and specific control dot status change. Okay. Now see, admin code control I am changing, enable and disable I am doing it over here. Okay. So see now how many times this will execute. Now I am listening to the specific control status change. This was overall form. This is specific control. Okay. See now. Once I change the value, I got it invalid. Again, if I change, again I get it disabled, right? So we, in case of false, we make it disabled anything, right? So whatever happening with that particular control, if it got enabled, if we make that, if we add it validation, for every status change, either we are enabling, disabling, adding required validation, something, this will trigger. So by using this, you can actually backtrack from where that value got changed. Okay. Now, how do we backtrack? Let's change it. Now you have a debugger over here. Okay. Now you want to change like from where actually this value got changed. Okay. So see, this is currently where we are in call stack. If you click over here, because of this got triggered. Because we enabled this admin control, because of this got triggered. Continue. Again, it got triggered. Now I want to see why it got triggered again. Because of update validity. Because my validity got changed. So this is how you debug properly, like whatever value is getting changed, from where it is actually initiating. Because of what that enabled and got disabled or validation got changed. So by using call stack, you can backtrack from where it got actually triggered. So this status change, we don't use for any development. This is for us only to debug the code. Not sure if everyone is able to imagine everything. I have worked on it, so I can imagine, and I'm trying to explain it also. Consider like instead of this small form, you have around 150 field in your form. So it's very difficult, and so many one control value get changed because of so many input value get changed. So at that time, it's very difficult to check like particular value got changed because of which control. So this will help you to backtrack what's the cause of actually triggering that event. Okay. Understood? Status changes.
Yes.
Okay. Whenever you enable, disable, update the validation, this will trigger. Clear?
Can you explain one more thing in this reactive form?
Which one?
The thing is, sometimes in the backend we are storing the ID of the type, right? User type 1 or 2, but on the HTML we have to show the different value. How we handle that one?
Same thing, no? In NG model also, let's say instead of this static, you are getting this user type from the API, key value pair data ID. So you bind it over here ID. Reactive or the template, that stays the same, no?
But how
Then,
the set value will
yeah, then you need to
update
manually
the
set it.
value, the one.
Then you manually need to set it. Instead of making this admin, you will provide the ID, whatever you have. Got it? If because this was a
Okay.
static drop down, so we directly set it. But let's say this data is you are getting from the API. So you need to manually extract, let's say you will get an array, right? From that array, you will filter admin record and you will get that ID, and then you will set it over here instead of text. You will store that array into your array, na? Some variable. You find it with that matching name, and then you set it ID.
Can you
Got
show us
it?
any example if you have time? We can do.
See, I will explain. Let's say you have a API call, okay, for getting the user type. You will make that API call, whatever the data you get, that you will store it over here in a variable, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, and that you will bind it over here. Instead of this static, you will make it dynamic. Understood?
Yes.
Now, if this checkbox got checked, we need to make user type set to admin. Okay. Now, here you will have, instead of the here, you will have 1, 2, 3 something. ID will be binded over here, correct? Now, once
Yes.
over here, you need to bind the ID. So what you will do, let's say constant record is equal to this dot user type array dot find you will use, na? And you will find the particular record matching with admin, and that you will get ID over here, complete object you will get. Then record dot user type ID, you will bind it over here. Understood?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll try.
So this is what you need to write. Clear?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
I have one doubt. Suppose मुझे दो API कॉल देने हैं ng on init में, मतलब जब कंपोनेंट लोड होता है तब, और एक मतलब एक API से मुझे आईडी मिल रही है, वो आईडी मुझे सेकंड API कॉल को देनी है और मतलब रिस्पॉन्स लाना है, तो ये कैसे कर सकती हूँ? मतलब मैंने किया है, बट वो क्या हो रहा है कि फर्स्ट API कॉल
मर्ज मैप यूज कर सकते हो। एक एपीआई कॉल के सब्सक्राइब में दूसरा एपीआई कॉल लिखोगे,
कर सकते हैं सर,
या फिर कॉन्कैट भी कर
सीक्वेंशियल के
सकते
लिए।
हो। समझ रहे हो?
तो एक API के कॉल के अंदर ही दूसरा कॉल मतलब
हाँ,
देना है क्या?
मर्ज मैप की जगह कॉन्कैट मैप द बेस्ट वे है, क्योंकि मर्ज मैप क्या करता है, पुराने एपीआई कॉल का रिस्पॉन्स और नए एपीआई कॉल का रिस्पॉन्स मिला के तुम नया कुछ कर सकते हो। कॉन्कैट मैप पुराने एपीआई पहले एपीआई कॉल का रिस्पॉन्स लेके वो तुम दूसरे एपीआई को एज अ पैरामीटर भेज सकते हो, और जो नया वाला एपीआई कॉल है उसी का रिस्पॉन्स तुमको सब्सक्राइब में मिलेगा। कॉन्कैट मैप।
अच्छा,
ओके।
ओके, थैंक यू।
तुमने नॉर्मली लिखा होगा कि एक के सब्सक्राइब में फिर से एक एपीआई कॉल ट्रिगर किया होगा
हाँ,
नेस्टेड।
यस,
इंस्टेड ऑफ कॉन्कैट मैप करो। ओके,
थैंक यू।
अंडरस्टूड। सो value changes is very important. Status changes is also important. This is for our purpose, just for the debugging. Okay. How do you add them? How do you enable and disable? How do you add the dynamic validation like this? Okay. Make sure after enable and disable and adding the validation, you need to have this line so that your form will get updated. Okay. Fine. It was a quick topic because I didn't prepare properly. I had a defect and that was only took my so much time. Okay. Anyone having quick question?
So yeah, I have a question. So we have this form group, right? And we also have something called form builder.
Right.
वो के दोनों के
Same
बीच
thing.
का difference क्या है?
Nothing difference is there. It's just a syntactical way. Form builder एक Angular का खुद का कोड जैसा है. Okay. Form builder ये Angular का खुद का इंटरनल कोड है, लेकिन उन्होंने एक्सपोज किया है, ऐसा कंसिडर करके चलो. जो फॉर्म तुम इससे क्रिएट करते हो वही सेम तुम रिएक्टिव फॉर्म बिल्डर सर्विस से भी कर सकते हो. ओके. प्राइवेट
तो
फॉर्म
सर
बिल्डर.
जैसे इसमें हम पर्टिकुलर कंट्रोल क्रिएट फॉर्म कंट्रोल, हम फॉर्म बिल्डर से वो फॉर्म कंट्रोल क्रिएट करके डायरेक्ट एम्प्टी मतलब एक एरे बनाते हैं, इसमें एम्प्टी नल जो भी वैल्यू देते हैं इसमें, मतलब
नहीं,
थोड़ा
रिलेट
सा
ही नहीं कर
डिफरेंट.
पा रहा हूँ. क्लियरली बोलो क्या बोल रहे हो, बोलो एक बार. ओके. कैसे करते हैं, ऐसे ही करते हैं ना, जिस फॉर्म बिल्डर डॉट ग्रुप करते हैं कि क्या करते हैं.
फॉर्म ग्रुप हम जब बनाते हैं
हाँ बोलो फिर से एक बार.
बना लो तो
फॉर्म बिल्डर किसको याद है कैसे करते हैं, ऐसे ही करते हैं ना.
वैसे ही करते हैं जैसे करते हो.
हम्म.
ये कि जैसे फॉर्म का नाम लग
इसके बाद इसमें एक अरे
नहीं
अरे
यूजर
अरे डालते हैं जिसमें
एरे
वो
डालते हैं, इसमें एम्प्टी रखते हैं, मतलब भी
नहीं
रखना
ना,
हो
इससे
जैसे
क्या
मतलब
हुआ,
आपको.
अपन ने सिर्फ क्रिएट किया लेकिन यूजर फॉर्म में वैल्यू कैसी गई, रिटर्न करता है क्या ये, मैं भूल गया अभी ये
आप
फॉर्म.
सर मैं बता रहा हूँ, यूजर फॉर्म इज इक्वल टू दिस डॉट यूजर
हाँ वही तो बोल रहा हूँ ना,
फॉर्म
ये
इज
रिटर्न
इक्वल
करेगा
टू.
ना, नहीं तो अपना फॉर्म कैसे इनिशियलाइज होगा.
ये नहीं करते हैं सर, इसमें डायरेक्ट अरे भी डाल सकते हैं.
फॉर्म कंट्रोल नहीं
किसमें,
ऐसा है.
एम्प्टी
यहाँ पे.
अरे लिख सकते हैं न्यू फॉर्म पे जो है, और वो वैल्यू इनिशियलाइज कर देता है.
यहाँ पे बोल रहे
नहीं
हो
नहीं
ना.
नहीं, न्यू फॉर्म कंट्रोल ही पूरा लाइन
ऐसा
हटा
ही
दो
है
आप.
न्यू फॉर्म कंट्रोल.
नहीं
अच्छा
नहीं, ये
हाँ
न्यू
हाँ.
फॉर्म कंट्रोल ये इम्प्लीमेंटेशन हटा दो. हाँ,
ओके.
एम्प्टी अरे डालते हैं यहाँ पे. हाँ,
तो यहाँ पे तुम्हारी वैल्यू और उसके बाद फिर से
वैलिडेटर्स
अरे और
वैलिडेटर को.
एरे
वैलिडेशन.
बनता है. हाँ
ओके हाँ. बहुत दिन हो गया मैंने लिखा ही नहीं. ओके. सो सेम है, ऐसा कुछ भी डिफरेंस नहीं है. बट जस्ट ये क्या है, तुम्हारा एंगुलर का इंटरनल कोड है जो इन्होंने एक्सप्रेस किया है, और ये थोड़ा सा क्लास है फॉर्म ग्रुप का, लिखने में थोड़ा सा ये इजी जाता है. बट ऐसा कुछ भी परफॉर्मेंस और ये कुछ भी डिफरेंस नहीं है. देर आर जस्ट टू वेज वी कैन डू दिस. एक सिनेरियो कुछ तो भी था, वो मुझे भी याद नहीं है, कुछ तो भी है जो रिएक्ट मतलब इजी होता है फॉर्म बिल्डर से, और फॉर्म ग्रुप में थोड़ी सी दिक्कत जाती है उससे. याद नहीं आ रहा है
आई
अभी
थिंक
मुझे वो
फॉर्म अरे
क्या
में
था.
इजी होता है थोड़ा फॉर्म बिल्ड.
फॉर्म अरे क्रिएट करते वक्त.
हाँ
बट फॉर्म ग्रुप में भी ऐसे दिक्कत नहीं जाती, होता है क्रिएट वो भी.
ऐसा तो सर फिर सेम ही है, बस सिंटैक्स थोड़ा इजी
वो
हो जाता है इसका.
वही बोल रहा हूँ ना, डिफरेंस कुछ भी नहीं है. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि जो फॉर्म ग्रुप के साथ कर सकते हो और फॉर्म बिल्डर के साथ नहीं कर, सेम है दोनों, जस्ट सिंटैक्टिकली डिफरेंट है. ओके. एंगुलर डेव पे जाके देखो, कुछ भी डिफरेंस नहीं मिला मुझे लास्ट टाइम मैं प्रिपरेशन कर रहा था तो. उससे भी ये बोलते हैं
हाँ
कि ये एक बॉयलर
चेक
प्लेट कोड है. ओके. बालाजी, योर वॉइस इज ब्रेकिंग.
to interrupt.
योर वॉइस इज ब्रेकिंग.
Yeah.
या क्लियरली.
Can is it audible now?
या
Can you
नो, अगेन इट्स ब्रेकिंग.
explain in English, please?
You message like how to achieve a synchronous method call in Angular if multiple methods
सर
are called in the constructor engine.
सर वो बोल रहे हैं कि इंग्लिश में एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए
Okay, English में explain करने के लिए. Okay. See, there is nothing difference between form builder and form group. It's basically same thing. It's just a syntactical way. Okay. And if someone is asking like what is the difference actually, just the syntax is different, and form builder is like a boilerplate code of Angular. Means it's internal code, they have exposed it. Okay. And form group is a class. We are initializing that, and form builder is a service. That's it. But basically, we are initializing our form with certain control. Just the syntax is something different. Performance wise or any disadvantage, nothing is like that. Basically, same thing. Okay. Fine. Let's stop. Tomorrow or on Sunday, I'm going to record a train booking application. I will post the message in the group also. Just like Redbus is there, but in Redbus we have done the seat selection, but in train seat selection is not there. That will happen by default. Okay, so I will post the message. You can join. Okay, fine. Thank you all.
Sir,
Thanks for joining. Yeah, Arun.
Hello.
हाँ.
पुस्तक कोड
थैंक यू
सर
सर
जैसे 3 साल